Officer, that's CEO, of Beyond the Chaos. Um, I am based in McKinney, Texas, but our company serves nationally. And I am actually one of the original founders who helped get Build, Grow, Learn off the ground. So that was a fun experience working with Joe and Brandon. And then last year, working with Noella as she kind of took over my ops part of that engagement. I have been an ops leader for over 35 years. I am not increasing that number as I age, that stays the same. And I have supported I've supported hundreds of small business owners through growth and scale. This is our 10-year anniversary this year, so we've had that experience over those years too. But I see one big core problem when we're working with business owners, and that is growth requires a role shift. Most owners are really buried in work they've outgrown. We've started this business because we were great at our trade. We succeeded in spite of ourselves because we were so great at our trade. Now we're buried under the weight of success and we're doing a whole bunch of things that we probably shouldn't be doing anymore. And this applies to leaders too. If you're a leader in your company, as the company grows, the same thing can fall in your area. If you're not changing, you're not scaling. And change is scary, right? Nobody likes change. Um, but if you're comfortable, you're not growing. So being a little uncomfortable is okay. We want to make sure that we're making the changes to make our business scale. If we don't want to scale, then we can keep doing exactly what we're doing. Um, so the thing that happens, how owners really become bottlenecks in their business, is they say things like, I'll just do it myself. It's easier than giving it to someone else. Because guess what? I know how to do it because I started this and I'm better at it than everyone else, right? So your decisions pile up, you can't get to all the things now that are on your plate, and that's limiting your ability to serve your clients and to get more clients and to help more people. It's also limiting your team's ability to grow. They are now trapped waiting for you. They can't get the answers that they need on time. They can't move things for you, which is why you hired them. So you have to say, I'm packed up. Here we go. So if you're involved in everything, you have no strategic ownership of everything, of anything as an owner. You can't because you're doing all the things, which means your head is down, you're looking down instead of looking up. What's coming at you? What should you be preparing for? All those kinds of things. So it costs you when you do this. It costs a lot, actually. It can result in slower growth of the company, of course. That's a big one where it just really slows you down. It makes that team so dependent on you that they can't move without you. You get frustrated with them. I've had clients, or I've worked with clients that have been mad at their clients because they're asking them to do things, which is why you're in business, right? It's because that overwhelm gets beaten down on you when everyone's coming to you, which results in burnout real fast. And then you're no good to anyone. And along all this, too, you are struggling with having limited freedom, which means no vacations. I've actually had clients brag that they haven't been on vacation in 15 years. It's not good. I've had people that aren't having dinner with their families that work all weekends. Now, as a business owner, maybe you do have to work a little bit more than 9 to 5 with an hour lunch break, but you should not be working all the time. And the whole reason you started this business I bet you 100% was for the freedom. And now we are trapped in it. And how are we going to move on? So here is the big question that you have to ask yourself. What are you still doing that your business should have outgrown you doing? And we're going to kind of dig into that next. So we're going to have an activity that's kind of an audit. So if everybody gets out a piece of paper or open a notebook on your screen, whether you're digital or paper, let's do this together. Um, the first thing we want to do, you've got 2 minutes for this. So do it fast. I want you to write 5 things you did in the past week. 5 things. Just going to give you some suggestions. I had a client who was doing all the invoicing and staying up late doing that. It could be that you were project managing. It could be that you had a sales call, any of those things. Think of 5 things you did in the past week. And I play the Jeopardy music in my head. Y'all do it too. Got about another 30 seconds here if you're still working. I do see some eyes up. So, okay. We all ready? I see eyes up, so I'm going to go. Okay, so we want to classify what you did into these 5 categories and be honest with yourself what it was. Was it revenue driving work? If so, write a big R next to it. That means a sales call or a marketing plan or anything like that. Something that's going to drive revenue. Was it leadership and strategy? You were helping your team, you were making decisions, you were living out that vision or presenting that vision for your team. You can put an L by that one. Was it ops and management? Were you building a new process or were you managing a project? Hopefully not the latter. The first is good, the last is not great, but it could be either one of those in that capacity. So you can write an O next to that. And then here's the last one. Anything that would be low value or didn't fall into one of those 3 categories. Anybody want to share what they came up with? I'm going to call on somebody. If you don't offer, I will voluntold you.
I
I,
can.
I see
Most of
Beth coming off. Come on, Beth. Let's hear it.
most of mine are ops. I have
That should be in
two.
your case, by the way. Beth, in your role, it should
Yeah,
be most of that.
I
Okay.
have 4 ops and 1 leadership.
Okay. That's great. Anybody else have something? Andrew, you want to share?
Yes, I have one. I have revenue driving, doing client work.
Okay.
Um, 2 ops, updating my business address and doing internal bookkeeping.
Okay.
Mm, Doing webinars, internal training. I put that under leadership strategy, just kind of
Sure.
continued growth.
That's definitely growth.
And then the low value one is responding to emails because that's the worst.
It is the worst. That is absolutely the worst. So there are some ideas I have on those, but let's run through the decision filters here on these things. So this is what, as leaders, we should be doing. It drives revenue. It requires your brain. and it sets a vision, the standards, or the strategy of your business. So if that was what you were doing as the owner or leader here, that's where you should be. So do those things. Don't take them off your list. The next one is delegate. These are the things that are repeatable or somebody else can be trained and where consistency is more important than perfection. How many, and I'd love to see a show of hands, want it done perfect all the time? I do. You're not going to get that. Even you can't do it perfect all the time, even though you think you can. So, you got to let that go. Consistency needs to be more important than perfection. Many business owners are perfectionists, and that's just going to get in your way. So a lot of these are going to be things like checking your email, Andrew, as you said, bookkeeping, which was also on your list, Andrew, uh, and project management, if you're doing that. Now, maybe creating the process is a little bit higher on that list if you don't have an ops leader. But day-to-day project management all fall into the low value default items that we need to figure out how to delegate. And then in our next option here, when do you hire for them? Right? That's where the big challenge is. And one is it's a recurring skill gap, right? There's always going to be a blank spot there. Bookkeeping is a great example of that. And it doesn't mean you have to hire full time. Outsource it. Bookkeeping is incredibly inexpensive if you find the right bookkeeper. Another delegation keeps failing due to capacity. You've tried to delegate it to somebody on your team, but it never happens because they're so busy with other things that they cannot get to it. That's a sign here that a hire is in order. And that the delay costs more than payroll. So you have to offset that too. I will tell you, you could get a great assistant from the Philippines for $3 to $6 an hour. That kind of payroll is not going to, the delay is going to be real fast on something like that. They're very good, but I know there are some challenges. So, but if you don't have anybody, that's a good place to start, and then you can upgrade that. And I think Brandon's team, you guys can help with assistance, I believe. Is that right? I'll give you a shout out there. The other thing that we want to decide on these things is what are you going to delete? So, what are you going to stop doing altogether because it's lost its value? That's something that I think is really important to think through because we sometimes just do things because we've always done them. Or we do them because somebody gave us an idea that we should be doing them, but it's not moving the needle. And we keep doing it anyway. So those are things you want to consider. Should I be doing these things at all? And stop doing them. Think about it. If you're on 6 social media platforms because someone told you you need to be in all those places, but you don't have a marketing assistant to keep all of those places up, or Insta isn't giving you any return and LinkedIn is giving all your return, maybe you need to drop the others. So those are all things that you're always going to have to be filtering out is what do you delete out? And I'd love to have some feedback on anything that comes to mind from people of things that they should stop doing or consider stop doing. I will voluntold you. Okay, Brandon.
Well, I would just say we're looking at consolidating our marketing, our messaging, because again, you kind of just pick things up along the way that again you've always done. And the goal is not to be Kodak or Blockbuster 3 years from now because you're not moving along with the times and innovation. So I think what we're saying and even how we're saying it, some of it we're like, we just need to stop doing that altogether. That's not the right messaging. That either represents our brand or what's resonating with our target audience. So
Yeah, I think that's real. That's very worthwhile to spend some leadership and strategy time on, which is a do,
yeah.
to decide if you should be doing that. Um, so anybody else have anything that they are considering stopping or hiring? Is there anything on, is anybody considering hiring somebody right now to do something because of any of those reasons that we gave here? Nope. Okay. Well, now at least you know when to do it.
More
Okay.
capacity, hiring more for the capacity. But it was
Capacity.
kind of already the known, and it was okay, there aren't this many hours in a day, so,
Yeah.
or a week.
Right. And that's when you can't delegate because
Hmm.
you give it away and it just comes right back because they can't do it.
Hmm.
And if you're not filling that gap, that's really important. Andrew, I think in EOS, what do they call that? That's they're the three things you have to fill your role.
I am not the person well versed in EOS.
Okay, Beth might know the three, I forget the three things in traction that are the
Yep. And get it, want it, and capacity
and
to do it.
capacity. There it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, the
Thank
only
you.
three things I can think of are
I was like,
GWC, but I'm not sure that's what she's referring to.
I was like, why can't I remember them? They escaped my brain.
Yeah, I got EOS on my desk.
So the capacity to do it is important.
Yeah.
All
Yeah, and
right.
that
So let's,
capacity is twofold. It's not just the time to do it, it's the ability to do it. And
right.
that's one that we have argued about internally. Well, those should be two separate. No, they're the same.
Hmm.
If you don't have the ability to do the job because you don't have the right skills, and if you don't have the time to do it, but they count as the same
Well,
capacity.
right. They count as the same. This isn't working.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So if they don't really want to do it too, they're
Yeah.
never
Well,
going to, the other two things won't follow. So that's all making sure that you hire the right person into the right seat at the right time. Um, all right. Anything anybody came up with that they're going to work on delegating? What do you think you might want to hand off? Because we can also talk through what that might look like, how you would hand something off.
So I'm just like a year into my own business, and
Okay.
I feel like I've been able to, be aware of some of these things on the front end so that it's, I'm able to kind of build my business from the beginning, being conscious of some of these things. So something that I did, because I do financial strategy and accounting and things, and I learned from my previous firm that I did not like doing client bookkeeping on a day-to-day basis. And so I brought in a friend who has a bookkeeping firm and have a contractor relationship. So it's like, we're peers, but it's the delegating of like, these are the things I don't like to do. So why don't you do those? And I'll do, the higher level strategy stuff that I enjoy more. And so it's that kind of mentality, just maybe not in the same dynamic as like having an assistant or something.
Sure, that makes sense. So, in that capacity, do you have anything written of what is your friend's lane and what's your lane? What lanes are you staying in?
Yeah, we don't have anything written. That's probably the next step to like have SOPs, documented. We have enough of an understanding, on the clients we work together on, where, he knows the stuff that he does and I do, what I do for depending on the scope. But yeah, that's probably you know, the next step of like documenting it all and having it really clearly defined.
I think that's a great idea because as you scale, you're also going to run into gaps and something will get dropped or missed
Mm-hmm.
because somebody didn't know it was in their responsibility area.
Mm-hmm.
So, right now, as you're growing, you can probably remember and a lot of things all the time. As you scale, it's going to be really hard to put your finger on every client and know exactly where they are if
Yeah.
you are not proselytizing that a little bit.
Yeah, that's good.
Anybody else delegating something right now? No, Beth, you're not delegating anything right now?
Well, yes, but that's the project management side of what I do, and it's constantly okay, these things need done. You're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to do that, so that it's constant.
Constant, yeah.
It's not new. Things that are on my plate, there are things I keep trying to delegate and then realize why I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to hold on to that because you don't have access to this and I can't give you access to that. Okay, but yeah, I keep coming up with those kinds of things. I'm like, this isn't working. Where do I find those things that I can
Can
delegate?
delegate.
And then the other piece is the capacity of the team that I'm like, I can't because they're going to tell me it'll take them 3 weeks and I can't wait 3 weeks.
Yeah. So that might be a sign for the hire.
Mm.
And what kind of hire is that is the next question. Is it another project manager? Is it an assistant? All of those things are things to keep in mind as you're looking at that. But it not getting done hurts the scalability of the company. It hurts the income of the company. It burns out the employees of the company as well. So those are all things to remember. Okay, so let's talk about your next three moves. Next three things we want to do to move things forward. Choose one activity to delegate. If you have not already, choose one. And if you don't have one on your list of the top 5 things that we wrote down, I guarantee you there's something you're doing that should be delegated. So pick one activity to delegate. Block some calendar time to create the process or make a video to hand off the task. That's where a lot of delegation fails is you try to give it to somebody and they don't know what to do and they don't know what your expectations are and you end up taking it back before they've had the opportunity to even succeed because they don't know what they're trying to succeed at. So make sure that you're blocking that time to create the process. This is how I want it done. A great way to do this is you can pull up Loom, which is a fantastic tool to make a quick video of watch me click through this screen. This is the order I do it in. This is what I'm looking for. So you can talk through what you're thinking about as you're showing somebody what to do. Not just click here, add this, but click here because I need to know this information this way, and it needs to be formatted this way. That gets your perfectionism included in your consistency part if you can be a little bit more clear on those kinds of things. Now, I will also tell you, I do not believe a process should stay or live in the video, but that is a fantastic way to hand it off. We want to make sure that the video is essentially written or moved into a project management tool that the process then becomes part of just your day to day. You're not having to go read or look up something every time. It's just in the steps automagically that appear on your screen. So you're able to do it more automatically instead of, oh no, what do we do next? Let me go find the 10 pages and dig through and figure that out. If it can be built in or even automated, once you build it in, now you can look at automation. I know Beth's doing a lot of that these days. That makes a big difference too. When AI comes in is all part of that too, is what can you use that tool to help you. I'll tell you, we run every single process we write through an automation, through an AI tool to make sure we haven't skipped something, to make sure it's clear on the other end, all those kinds of things before we push it out. So ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you're using, let it do some work for you there too. Next move, identify the next role to hire. And that might not mean that's somebody I can afford or I need today. But what are we looking at in the future as a forward-thinking owner to help you get out of your way? Where do we see that next gap coming up? Does not have to be full-time. Part-time, virtual, fractional, contractor. Where do we see a gap coming up? And what type of role is that in? Can also block some time to write that job description. Because if you don't have the job description, again, you're not going to find the right person and you're not going to be satisfied in the end. And then bonus move for all this, schedule time every month to repeat this exercise. Because I guarantee after you hand off and you delegate and you delete and you hire, you're still going to have all these things on your plate that make you the bottleneck. Because you're always going to be the bottleneck. Because you're always going to be coming up with the next idea. And how does that get executed? So make sure that you're repeating the exercise. What are the top 5 things I've done? Can I delegate them or are they in my wheelhouse? Do that on a regular basis. You don't scale by doing more. You scale yourself by firing yourself from doing the wrong things. So it's a really hard thing to manage and understand, but it's important. You know, even if your mission is that you just want to help people have better lives, which is part of what Beyond the Chaos is. We want our owners that we work with to have better lives. Well, if I don't hire people and grow it and hand off things and train people on how to do the whole process themselves, we can't help as many people. So whatever your vision is, how does this apply? That's another way to think about that too. And I do see, I think we have some questions in the chat. I'm just popping that up right now. Beth, Scribe. I love Scribe. That is a great way to document the process. One thing I want you guys to think about when you're using Scribe or when you're even doing the Loom video type format, that is talking about what are you doing today? That may or may not be scalable. So it's a great starting point, but now start thinking, how many of these are the things that we're doing because we've always done it that way? Does it fit in to a place that multiple people could do it? Or am I just giving it to one person? The scalability is important. We took, I have a great story about this. We had a client, a bookkeeper actually, that did payroll, that was making a few mistakes on payroll, which nobody likes that, right? Which caused then additional issues of them having to go back and fix payroll. And we're like, and it was taking 5 hours each payroll to run it. And we're like, okay, what is going on? This should not be happening. And we're like, can you send us your process? Do you have one? And they, of course, it's not documented. Okay, can you document it for us? Somehow record it, whatever, send it to us. Let us see if we can take a look at it and find where these gaps are occurring. Well, she did an excellent job of documenting the 20-page document. Yes, I see a whole bunch of other eyes going up. 20 pages of what she was doing every 2 weeks to run payroll. Well, we got it, and of course our heads just exploded, right? This is not the way to do it. Now, it is the way she was doing it. So she did document her process. But We were able to take a look at it and streamline it and templatize it and build her some little tools to make it go faster and be more consistent. The next time she ran payroll, it took 30 minutes. That's about right. And they are talking about, and there were no mistakes. So there wasn't any going back and fixing. They're talking about saving $3,000 a month just in the fees from doing that. So just documenting, that's the first step. But now you got to be looking forward and you have to be always questioning, why do we do that step? Is there a faster way? Can it be automated? Can it be templatized? You know, what are those things to make it consistently simpler over time? So I am done with my presentation here on how to get out of your own way today, but I am happy to take questions or talk through any challenges people are having to help you get on your path to freedom. Nothing?
I've got my hand raised.
Andrew.
Oh, I
But
can't see it. Okay, I can't see
that's
it. Go
okay.
ahead.
I'd just be curious, Susan, that was a great example of, finding an area that needed refinement. For you as the owner through your max 35 years of experience,
I've
what
only been
are,
an owner for 10.
oh, okay, the 10 years. Um, what are some of the things that you have found in your owner seat that have had the greatest impact? Or, even things that you waited too long to delegate or get rid of?
Here was the hardest thing I had when I first started my business. So Andrew, this might relate to your world a lot too. One of the things I was really good at, and I'm still really good at, is asking the right questions to get the right direction going. It's the consulting part, right? It's
Mhm.
the I know because I've done this for 30 years. I've seen it. Even though I was a young owner still, I had been in that business for long enough and worked with enough people that I knew what questions to ask to get at the root of the problem. And sometimes those were in the moment. So, how do you train 30 years of experience to somebody who might have 4? But that's who the person is who should be doing the work,
Mm,
right? If the owner is doing the work, they're not going to be growing and scaling. You can't be doing your own fulfillment. So how can I take that information in my brain and build it into something that is good enough? Notice I didn't say perfect. Good enough that it can be repeatable and serviceable to more people. And so what I started doing was, I still continued to do the consulting. I would hand off the implementation at that point. I had people who could knock out what I told them to do, no problem. But how did I get myself out of that role of having to tell them? And so I started having to templatize myself while I did the work. And that was really like, okay, how can I categorize the questions I'm asking? How can I standardize a little bit? And starting to record, at that point, I started to record all my calls. Now, I should have been doing that probably earlier, record every single call. And then I could go back to them and I could pull out what are the questions I'm asking. And now I'm able to build something that somebody else can repeat. Now, there needs to be a little bit more training with that. I'm not just going to throw them in the briar patch and tell them good luck. But, we were able to build a template for that of here are the questions to ask. This is the process we're going to follow. And the first time you do it, we're going to train you on it, but then the first time you do it, you have a ride along.
mhm,
So it might be, the more experienced person leads one and the other person rides along. And maybe that other person is going to implement that time. And then the second time we flip it. And the more experienced person is the ride along who's just there to interject or that kind of stuff. And then they can step out and that the new person can then take the whole project. We've had great luck at that over time training it. So that was the hardest thing I had to figure out how to get off my plate. Next will be sales and finance. But I do believe that those are the last two things that should sit on an owner. Sales slash marketing, I should say.
Mhm.
And if you like them, that's a different story too. As you move towards a sale or a transition out of your business, even if you're not selling it, if you're handing it down or you're giving it to an employee in the long run, if your end goal is not just shut the thing down and you know, call it a day, what is on your plate that somebody who bought your business would want to do?
Mhm.
Do they want to buy a job? Probably not. Might they be willing to buy something where they're the lead salesperson? Maybe. Where they're in charge of finance overall? Maybe. So those are just things to think about as you get towards that longer term transition is how are you setting yourself up to be expendable so that somebody could look at it and say, yeah, this thing can go without Andrew or Brandon or Susan, and it has legs of its own without the owner. The owner isn't driving everything. They might still be in charge of the vision. That's where they should sit. A new owner might change that vision. You never know. So you got to be willing to let go of that too when you're selling something. But those are just things to think about as you're transitioning long term. Anybody else have any good questions? Because these are good. All right, then I'm going to give you a few minutes back of your day. And I'm going to say thank you so much for coming. I will give you a free owner activity spreadsheet if you go to this site. I did notice a little technical difficulty with that this morning. So if you have a problem accessing it, please let me know and I'll just send it to you. You can email me at susan@beyondthechaos.biz. And I will send these slides over. So Noella, you can share them out. So if you're frantically trying to write that down, we'll get it out or we'll get it in a link.
Great. Thank you, Susan.
That's
All
awesome.
right.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you all. Thank you for coming. I hope you learned some stuff.
Good.
All right. We'll see you next
Thank you
time.
so much. Bye.
Thank you.